Rob Dauster here. I got Jeff Goodman with me.
Hell no.
John Fink.
Are we still live?
Field of 68 till I die.
Give it to you.
I'm sorry, man. I blacked out.
Randolph Children.
DJ Khaled, you not a big DJ Khaled guy?
Hands thrown up and in.
Goodman needs to be fired all the time.
Josh Tasker.
You're going to beat people straight up.
You know the deal.
Drink responsibly tonight. I'll be drinking with you.
Jarrell McNeil.
From the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors.
This is Field of 68 after dark.
Welcome to the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, for the Field of 68 after dark. I'm John Fanta with Jeff Goodman, with Rob Dauster. Tonight, she saw 4 top 25 teams hit the court for the Jimmy V Classic. FAU beating Illinois. Illinois beating FAU, making a statement the Illini did. And just moments ago, number 5, Connecticut, beating number 9, North Carolina, 87-76. So that's where we begin here. Get your comments in on the YouTube chat. We want to hear from you. Jeff Goodman, UConn wins this game. They bounce back from the loss to Kansas. What did the reigning national champions show you tonight?
That they can win another one, that they're in the hunt to win another one. Again, I'm not going to put him as like a front runner or anything like that, even though Danny Hurley's going to be pissed at me for saying that because that's just Danny Hurley. But ultimately, here's the deal with UConn right now is Tristan Newton's turned himself into a really, really good point guard, okay? Alex Caravan is a terrific player and not shooting the ball well because he had the dislocated finger. Donovan Clingan hasn't even played well yet. Hasn't played well yet at all. Sampson's been great. To be honest, that's been their best lineup with him at the 5, to be honest, because defensively, some of the things he can do, and then offensively, he's a lob threat. He can go up there and go get it. And you look at Castle, this is first game back, basically. So you think of what they did tonight to Carolina, what they did going into Kansas, almost beating Kansas at a place that Bill Self never loses, and they have 3 guys that, to me, aren't near what they're going to be. And I just talked to Dan Hurley about that. And he said, listen, basically called me an idiot.
Well, he's
not
wrong.
Yeah, basically,
wrong.
Without calling me an idiot, he called me an idiot for not having trust in them in the preseason when I went there for practice. And, again, I was hesitant to put them as a title contender with everything they had lost.
Look, I was there too. Right, I was in the same boat as you, where I thought that this UConn team was going to be a little bit closer to like a 3 seed than a team that's going to be in the mix for a 1 seed. They're absolutely going to be in the mix for a 1 seed as long as they do what they got to do in Big East play. But I think it's the growth of Tristan Newton. Like, we knew that he was going to be a good player. He was the best player on the floor in the national title game. Right? You know he's going to be a good player. He's gone from a good player to like a bona fide All-American. I have a very real question for you. How many point guards in college basketball right now are playing better than Tristan Newton?
Not many.
I'd make the argument that Isaiah Stevens is at Colorado State. He's been unbelievable. He's averaging 18 and 8 for an 8
in the conversation. That's all you got to say. He's in the conversation. And if I had told you that a year and a half ago, everybody, including Dan Hurley, would have laughed at us. Cam Spencer is as pivotal
Can I just take you through a stat line tonight?
Portal.
Cam Spencer, 23 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 8 for 14 from the floor, 0 turnovers, 36 minutes. Amazing. You can't than that.
No.
Especially coming off, again, he's still not 100%. He's not. And then you throw in, all these players, right, that fit together. Solo ball was awesome tonight. Awesome. And I talked to Jason Smith, his coach at Brewster Academy, and I said, are you surprised? And he said, no, not at all. He's even keel, great shooter, just knows how to play, isn't going to get too high, too low. And then you throw in Dan Hurley, one of the best coaches in the game right now. So, again, I think it started with they lose to New Mexico State in the tournament, and he says, we're not going down this way anymore. We're gonna get shooting. We're going to get guys who can move the ball, and obviously toughness.
We will be joined by Cam Spencer in a few moments. Rob Dauster caught up with him downstairs. We're here at Madison Square Garden. We're better to be tonight. Jimmy V Classic was on fire here. This building was absolutely terrific throughout the night. Carolina fans brought it. A thought on North Carolina watching them live.
RJ Davis is good, man. Like, he is good. And it's nice to see him. I didn't know if it was going to work playing him off the ball. and it's working for them offensively,
better.
playing him off the ball. He's got
except that he's small. So like
5 straight games. Yeah,
the only hard part is defensively.
Yeah, 5 straight games of 20-plus points, right? And I think what we're seeing is him kind of embracing this role as being the go-to guy that he wasn't able to be the last 2 years with Caleb Love. And that's not a shot at Caleb Love. I promise you it's not. But getting him the chance to be like the number one guy has been good for him. I think Elliot Cadeau has been terrific so far this year as a freshman. I didn't necessarily see that coming. I think Harrison Ingram has been fantastic
much better
as
than
well.
Thought. Yeah.
I'm worried about them defensively. Like, they gave up 92 to Tennessee. They gave up 87 tonight to UConn. You're right. With RJ Davis and Elliot Cadeau in your backcourt, you are going to be limited on the defensive end of the floor. Will it matter if you're able to put up 90? No, but if it's going to be a night like this and you don't necessarily have everybody having
those guards aren't big-time rebounders. Yes. They're not helping out in the glass enough. So then so much is on Baycott and Ingram. And, then they put Jalen Washington in there and against, Klingon. He's just tossing them around.
I think your point is so well made because heading into the year, the consensus was for this UConn team to be in that top echelon. It would mean that Donovan Klingon was an All-American.
Yes.
But the fact is, tonight, he was in foul trouble. He committed his third foul.
It's a non-factor.
Just a half minute into the second half.
Yeah.
Samson Johnson just brings a different level of energy off the bench, and he gave Armando Baycott issues.
He did, and it wasn't just him. It was a lot of guys coming at Baycott. That's the difference, right? Newton is an elite guard rebounder. Cam Spencer can go in there and get boards as a big, strong, tough wing. It felt like Baycott was, every time he was going for a board, he had 3 guys around him every single time. And that's kind of, again, that's a culture thing for Dan Hurley is you're always going to go with toughness, number one. But now he's got skill to match, offensive skill.
Well, I mean, that was the change that he made in heading into last season, right? In the 2022-23 season. He made a conscious decision to say, okay, we can play with the same level of toughness and the same mindset and get some of these kids, but we got to get guys that can make shots and we got to get guys that can make plays as well. And that's what you're seeing with this group is they're able to space the floor. I mean, think about it like this. Mm-hmm. They shot 31 threes tonight.
Yeah.
If I would have told you when Dan Hurley got the job that he was going to have a team that took 31 of their 66 shots from beyond the arc and win a game against North Carolina by double digits, I don't know if that's necessarily what you would have imagined with a Dan Hurley kind of a program. And the other thing that I will just say about this is I think getting Steph Castle, I don't think people understand like the value that he brings. And the reason I say that is because what UConn is kind of lacking right now, and we talked about this a little bit after the Kansas game, Jeff, what they're lacking right now is 2 things. One, another guy that can go make something happen at the end of a clock on his own. Cam Spencer did it tonight against a North Carolina team that's not a great defensive team. Right. He couldn't do it really against the Kansas team that had 3 great defenders on it. Steph Castle's a guy that can be a difference maker there. And 2, we always talk about big athletic wings. Like he is 6'6". He's built like a 26-year-old. And that level of defensive athleticism is something that will be huge for them.
I know that I'm putting you on the spot here, but it's such a conversation topic. And we had this on the show last night, and it was very interesting. We're going to get to Cam Spencer here in a moment. If I gave you 4 teams tonight to pick in the national championship tier, who would be your 4?
Well, I think that tier is about 9 to 10 teams deep. But if you wanted to give me wanted me to give you a top 4,
1A, you know what I mean?
No, give me just 4.
4.
Yeah,
give me
4. Yeah, Arizona.
Yep.
I'm still going to go Purdue.
Okay.
I'm going to put UConn in that group.
I agree with you.
And I'm going to put Kansas in there. And the reason I'm going to put Kansas in there is 1, they have 3 wins over top 12 KenPom teams, and 2, I trust Bill Self, the 4 guys that we know are dudes, to be able to figure it out with the 5th spot in that lineup.
Well, that's where I'll go too. Is right. So I'll go Dan Hurley in UConn. I'll go Bill Self. I don't think they can win 6, but I think they can win 4 and get there. I'll go Kelvin Sampson in Houston because I'm just going to go coaches at this point with obviously enough talent. And the 4th one is a little bit harder because Matt Painter hasn't done it in the tournament, right? Tommy Lloyd hasn't done it in the tournament. So for me, the 4th one gets a little bit more difficult.
Can I guess who it's going to be?
Yeah, because I don't know it yet.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go through it right now.
I'm shocked.
Well, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're on for an hour. So we can get that answer update. That's called a tease. It's having Theo. You're going to bring the fourth team to us later in the show. For now, Rob Dauster has the exclusive one-on-one post-game with the man of the night, Cam Spencer of the Connecticut Huskies.
Let me welcome onto the field of 68 after dark. Cam Spencer, fresh off a 23-point, 7 rebound, 6 assist performance, no turnovers, coming off of the night that you had against Kansas, big UConn win. How do you feel, man? You feel pretty good?
I feel good. I'm really just happy with how the team responded. We weren't very happy with obviously the Kansas game, and I thought we raised our intensity level, which is something that the coaches wanted. And I'm just really proud of our guys for executing tonight. Big win against North Carolina.
I feel like your intensity level probably doesn't need to go much higher than it was today.
Yeah, I was out there for sure, just a lot of adrenaline, but I felt like the team needed it, and hopefully it helped them. And I just wanted to get our energy level as high as possible, and just happy we got the win.
Coming off of Friday night, obviously, a close loss, one where I know that you watched the tape, and I know that you probably are kicking yourself a little bit for some of the shots that you missed. How do you feel? How good do you feel being able to knock down a couple of them and get back in the rhythm?
Yeah, it feels great. It feels like the longest days in between games where you play like that. And, I put a lot of the ownership on myself for that loss. Not making shots and not doing things to help the team. So happy to respond, but really just happy with our team and how we responded with our attitude and our last couple of days of practice. And we got out of here with a great win.
The transfer portal has been something that's been talked about in college basketball. Obviously, you are the senior point of view from Rutgers. Stepping into this program and kind of seeing what it is from the inside versus the outside, how much it feels like the perfect fit for you. Your level of intensity, Coach Kirby's level of intensity, the way that everyone conversations.
Yeah, it started with Coach Hurley. He brings it every day. Doesn't have a bad day. The intensity level in practice and film and everything that we do. Watching UConn last year and the previous years, you can see the intensity that they play with, but you understand why the program is the way it is with him leading it and just how hard we practice. And I just love everything about it.
3-0 in the Garden. Your new favorite coach?
I love it. So far, it's been great to me, so we got to keep it going.
That's Cam Spencer.
Back to yourself.
Which you're on set here.
Yeah, that was not my finest moment.
You're such an amateur.
I know.
What did you
it's
learn?
It's hard at the moment, man. It's hard at the moment when you got the interview going and you don't plan it out. You're like, oh, shit, what am I supposed to do?
He's never done an interview. It's like he's never done one before.
What did you see in his performance at Eleanor Arena in
Eleanor or Baldwin Arena? Get it right, Fanta.
You should have seen when I put the picture up on my laptop of Eleanor R. Baldwin. And I had it up there for like a good 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, Rob looks over and he just lost it. He lost it.
It was pretty funny.
You had to go the whole Eleanor R. Baldwin Arena.
Time.
Well,
every
time. I said it the first time, and then I was like, then they were like, what are you
that
doing? I was like, I'm going to do it the rest of the show.
God bless you, Dagan Hughes. Some parting thoughts on UConn, Carolina. Then we'll get to Illinois and their win over FAU tonight. We know there's a lot of Fighting Illini followers out there, and thanks for staying up with us here. If you're in the YouTube chat, fire any questions. Dagan can text us your questions. Okay, so Connecticut in the second half. In the first half, they're up at the break, but they only shot 4 for 16 from 3. And Tom Moore was downstairs, UConn assistant, and he kind of said it. He's like, man, when we hit a 3, it feels like 4 or 5. And in this building, it does because they travel from CT. Talk about that.
No, it's ridiculous. I was sitting in the crowd with my wife, and we were in that UConn section. And my wife looked back and she's like, oh, my God, like, who are these people? I mean, it's people like him. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. I mean, you've got absolute lunatics.
True story. My high school shooting guard accosted. Well, didn't accost, but he went up to Andy Katz. He was like, I played basketball with Rob Dauster in high school.
Where would you rank
Shout out to Dan Golden.
Where do you put UConn fans?
I mean, when they're at the Garden, they're pretty damn good. They're up there with, the best of them. I think, again, like Texas Tech still, if you go to Lubbock, that group, I'm telling you, they're
and where we had January 27th, where we're going January 20th.
That's going to be elite. That's going to be elite.
Am I going to be allowed there? Are we going to be allowed there?
What do you mean?
What are you talking about?
Can we? Like,
what are you talking about?
Are we invited to Providence? Are we allowed there?
What do you mean?
Am I going to need Kim English to get us a security escort?
No. No.
Are you going to have a beer thrown at your head?
You're not.
I don't know. Hopefully Kim will take care of me. Anyway, yes, like to me, it's a major, major home court advantage, obviously, for UConn being here. But I don't think that's what did it. I think it's, again, the toughness. I talked to Baycott after the game, and he said, man, like, they just come after you. They come after you, and they killed them on the offensive glass. And, you know, this Carolina team's good. They're not great. But, again, I figured they would give UConn a little bit more of a fight because they're older, right? They're older. They were healthy coming in, where UConn was a little banged up.
What
So I was surprised.
What would make this, with that in mind, now that you've seen enough of Carolina, what would make this a successful Hubert Davis year 3?
I mean, I think second weekend would be a huge success for Carolina. I think Carolina fans would take that and sign up in a heartbeat right now.
Do you feel better about Carolina than Duke, big picture?
Right now, I do. I think that there's more of a ceiling for Duke. I think that they have some things that they can figure out, and there's more talent on that roster. But I think if they lined up right now and they played right now, I probably would pick North Carolina to win.
Yeah, it's a close one. It's not an easy one, to be honest. If you're putting stock in one of Carolina or Duke, I don't know who I feel most comfortable with, to be honest, at this point. Because, you know, those Duke young guards, still, they're kind of, you don't know what to expect out of them right now. And obviously the Proctor injury, we don't know what that's going to be, but I think he's going to miss some significant time here from what I'm hearing. So, yeah, I like Carolina just pleasantly surprised me. But, again, tonight I was a little disappointed. They never really put full game pressure on UConn. They cut it to 5 at halftime, you know, on a bucket there at the end, but they never were able to really put pressure on them in the second half.
They made some runs in the second half. That I
never got it down to like a possession.
True.
They got it to 5.
They got it to 5.
RJ Davis.
3 different times they got it to 5. But what happened was they couldn't get that one stop that they needed. And I don't know if this is – so let me ask you guys this. It feels like UConn is shooting about 85% on shots that come in the final 3 seconds of the shot clock. Like a lot of their possessions, we saw with Alex Caravan against Texas here, right?
Yep.
We saw it with Tristan Newton at Kansas. We saw it tonight. Cam Spencer made a couple. Solo Ball hit one. Tristan Newton made a couple of them. That
can you rely on that?
Is that something that is sustainable? And part of me says, like,
but I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried. They've good enough shooters collectively. They've got really good shooters, right? Newton, Caravan's got much better shooter than he's shown.
He showed me his finger, and that thing is still
it's screwed up.
Yeah, it's nasty.
It's screwed up. So
it's nasty looking.
You've got, to me, 3 high-level shooters on the court, and you know, I think that's enough in this day and age. That's more than most teams have.
Yeah, it feels like you're living on the edge a little bit, but at the same time, it's what they need to be able to get it done while they're waiting for Klingon to get back to being himself. And I'm torn on this because on the one hand, I think he's still having an impact defensively, but I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if he doesn't have his legs yet because he's dealing with a toe thing after dealing with
the other foot
and
the other foot.
Yeah, so like I don't know if he just hasn't gotten all the way back into shape. I don't know if it's just like he doesn't really practice, so he's kind of rusty, and it's like everything's not clicking, and when it's not clicking, and you're 7'2".
Or wait, could it be? Oh my, that we overrated Donovan Klingon a little bit, and it's going to take more time. It's going to take more time. What did he average minutes last year? How many minutes did he play?
So dominant, and it's like the shots. So he had one post up there tonight he had Harrison Ingram on him, and he goes up and he leaves it short. And then on that same possession, it comes back around and he goes up and a lob's thrown to him and he doesn't get up high enough. The ball kind of hits him in the hand and he misses the lob. And those are things that he never would have missed last year. And so I think it's just a confidence thing.
Well,
I think
it may be timing,
rust. Yeah. He doesn't have the legs. I think he'll get there.
All right, let's turn to the first game of tonight. Jimmy V Classic here at Madison Square Garden. Illinois and Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic, you guys saw them throughout the weekend. They're coming off the field of 68 tip-off where they looked terrific in the wins over Charleston and Liberty.
That's the first time that you said it the right way. You said Field of 68 Invitational like 15 times, and you got me to the point where I was calling it the Field of 68 Invitational too.
Okay, I apologize for calling it the Field of 68 Invitational. It was the tip-off at Eleanor R. Baldwin Arena. Eleanor might be a sponsor of ours by the end of the year, based on how much she's made money.
If she can
off
pay
of us.
If she can pay for an arena, she could drop a bag.
So they come off of that, and now they're facing an Illinois team that honestly, heading into the night, I think the collective thought would be,
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. Well, we do know now that Marcus Domask was a big-time transfer addition by Brad Underwood. Domask goes for 33 points. Terrence Shannon goes for 33 points.
Yeah.
And Illinois takes down Florida Atlantic. Your reaction?
So my reaction here was the length of Illinois and how apparent it was when we were down at the Field of 68 tip-off, John. Tip-off. FAU went up against Liberty and Charleston. And the guards, Elijah Martin's my height, right? When you say 6'3", 6'3". He might not even be 6'3".
Yeah.
I think he's my height. John L. Davis is a little bit bigger than me, maybe 6'4". They don't have those big wings. Greenlee's not big, right? I mean, those guys just aren't. So can they be exposed against certain teams? I think they were tonight. I think Elijah Martin had a hard time getting the basket. So what did he do? He settled for threes. They weren't falling. And then on the other end, they couldn't stop Domask. They couldn't stop Terrence Shannon. Domask was posting him up. He kind of looked like a Villanova guard at times. And Terrence Shannon did whatever the hell he wanted tonight.
They both did, man.
Yeah.
They both got wherever they wanted.
Yeah.
And to me, it was Domask, right? Because FAU kind of had control of this thing in the first half. And it felt like they didn't have Vlad Golden play that much in the first half. Then the Rosado kid got in foul trouble, and they were playing with Trey Carroll, who is a buck, couldn't guard you. And they were still heading into they headed into halftime with the lead. And it felt like, okay, they're going to get Vlad back in the second half. They're going to find a way to get a little tougher defensively. They're going to start getting some stops, and they're going to find a way to pull away with this thing. And you know what happened? Marcus Domask went for 25 in the second half. And he didn't just hit like 8 threes and get fouled a bunch. Like, he got wherever he wanted. Yeah. He posted up, he turned, and he hit these little 8-footers, and he had these little runners, and he got to the basket. Terrence Shannon got wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted, especially in transition. And
Golden wasn't on the court enough early, too. He was sitting again. Now, he's the difference maker for me.
No, he is. But here's my thing is that I hear what you're saying on FAU, and I don't disagree. But I took so much more away from what Illinois can be when they played their best.
I get it.
And here's
but is Domask ever going to do that again?
Well, that's what I was about to say. Here's my question is we saw a very similar performance from Illinois last year against UCLA.
I was there.
Was it Vegas?
Yeah, I was there.
And
that was when Mick Cronin said some words afterwards that I can't repeat.
That's not the first time that has happened.
And mind you, as you're going, last year, Matthew Meyer came in here and had an unbelievable performance for Illinois that wasn't exactly.
Shannon's been better.
He's been fantastic. He's averaging 22 a game.
All-American.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's been great. Now they haven't, obviously they lost to Marquette at home. Then they beat Rutgers. Hadn't played a ton in between. But yeah, I mean, listen, if Domask can average 17 a game, they're different. But are you really expecting him to do that?
He's been on fire the last 3 games. Yeah. But he came into this game averaging less than 10. Right. Terrence Shannon was the only double-figure scorer here. And to me, that's what kind of stood out. Like,
Coleman Hawkins wasn't very good.
No, what's he dealing with? Like, he only played – he's played 4 games, banged up.
Yeah, they just – I mean, like, Luke Goody was solid in this one, but it was a two-man show.
Harmon hit a couple
two-man show. And, again, like, sometimes we put too much into a single game. Mm-hmm. And I think this might have been that case of a matchup that was very favorable. And give Brad Underwood a lot of credit because, honestly, he took advantage of those matchups.
Hey, let's face it. Last year, Illinois, Texas, that night, the way we reacted, look where those 2 teams ended up at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Texas ended up going to the Elite 8 and really should have gone to the Final Four had they not collapsed to Miami. For Illinois, big picture, because there were a couple of Big Ten games tonight. We can turn to that as well if you'd like to go down that angle because Michigan State lost at home to Wisconsin and didn't look good at all. Mm-hmm. Is Illinois, in your mind, the second best team in the Big Ten?
You can't ask him that question because remember what his answer was 2.5 weeks ago.
Well, I'm trying to give him another shot. It's still, I know.
Don't hate on the Michigan Wolverines.
Okay, they've lost 5 of 6.
They're in a slump.
Just
in a slump.
It's a mini slump.
A slump.
It's just a slump.
What do you define as slump?
UConn lost 6 out of 8 last year and won the national title. That's all I'm saying. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So buckle up.
Hey, wait.
Buckle up.
Rob
right?
Dauster just said Michigan is going to win the national title.
You know who else has lost 5 of 6? DePaul.
No, I think the second best team in the Big Ten right now is probably Wisconsin, right? And I think that this.
Yeah, I think that's fair. They've been on a tear lately.
I will say this about Illinois, and we've said it last year. We said it the year before. We probably said it the year before that. It feels like we've said it every year that Brad Underwood's been there, right? I think Illinois can beat anybody in college basketball this year when they play the way that they played tonight, right?
I agree with that.
How many teams are going to beat them if they got 2 guys going for 30? That said, I don't think that this is going to be something that is entirely sustainable. That is not a hot take. Of course not. But if they can get Terrence Shannon being the guy that he's been, and Marcus Domask, like you said, if he's like a 15 to 17 point per game guy,
it's got to be consistent.
Coleman Hawkins, we don't need Coleman Hawkins to be like the guy that had all the hype heading into a sophomore year.
Do you trust the team though? With right now, Ty Rodgers is their point guard.
No, not at all.
Not to win in March.
Which is why what works is when you just go iso ball and you got 2 guys and you can't stop.
Sure,
that's why it works.
But Domask was that for one night.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I need to see more. I need to see a lot more out of Illinois before I'm anointing them as the second or even maybe third best team.
I agree.
Right now in the Big Ten.
I 100% agree.
This, again, might have just been a great matchup and a great individual performance from Marcus Domask.
Let's turn big picture then to the Big Ten, since this is the topic of discussion on who the second best team is. I mean, guys.
What are the candidates, Fanta? Can we go through them?
Well,
it's Wisconsin.
But Jeff.
And it's going to change every week. We're going to have this. Who's the second best team? And honestly, it's going to change every week.
Let's get to that question after we get to the interview. Rob Dauster caught up with Marcus Domask after his career-high 33-point performance. Here's that convo.
Now let me welcome onto the field of 68 after dark, Marcus Domask, fresh off of a 33-point performance from career-high Kane in Madison Square Garden.
That feels good. You can kind of feel the history in the air. I don't know how to describe it, but the Garden is special, so it feels good to kind of let the work show on a spotlight like this. So
you transferred from Southern to Illinois. I'm assuming for the opportunity to play for games like this. What was that experience like in Madison Square Garden, playing against a team that maybe where you guys are trying to go this year?
Yeah, it was awesome. I just felt like our team was, so locked in. Like, how can you not be ready to go in a game like this? Our team was locked in during the scout and everything, and I felt like we had a good game plan to go get the win, and we showed that.
You guys came into this as one of the best defensive teams in the country, and you just put up 90 points. What does that say about what you're seeing?
If you ask me what our ceiling is, I think we can win the national championship. Obviously, we got a lot of work to do before we get there, and I think we have a lot to improve on. Our defense wasn't up to how it usually is, and our defensive rebounding wasn't as good as it usually is. So, we got the win, but we got a lot of stuff we can do better at.
Thank you.
That was Rob Dauster and Marcus Domask. We are back with you on the field of 68 After Dark from Madison Square Garden after the Jimmy V Classic. It was rocking in here as UConn beat North Carolina, as Illinois beat FAU. Jeff Goodman, Rob Dauster with you. Okay,
we were talking. I'm in between 2 Big East guys right now. I feel like dirty or something.
You feel dirty?
Yeah, like in
Why
between
do you
the
feel
two
dirty?
of you when UConn wins like this. It's just I feel
Why
gross.
do you hate UConn?
I feel gross.
Well, this is a question.
Dan Hurley really does think I hate him.
You do.
Right? You should have seen him.
What happened there? I watched it.
Fantasar.
Yeah.
I went up to Hurley after the game. I think he just likes doing this shit to me. And he acted like he was mad at me again. I'm like, what did I do? Now, I'm dealing with very little sleep, so I might have done something. I have no idea at this point. But eventually we talked it out again.
I just don't know why you feel dirty.
I don't know.
You haven't even given me the chance to give a state in the Big East, which is coming up.
Oh,
I have
great.
a lot of thoughts.
Maybe it's just foreshadowing.
Right. Might come at 3 a.m. We might not be on the air. I might just start yelling inside this building.
That wouldn't be the first time they just started wandering around Madison Square.
I'm going to be asleep by 1:15.
That's true. Okay. So we do have to get back to the Big Ten for a moment, because I think what's more interesting right now than who's second best, Michigan State's back at home tonight. They're hosting Wisconsin. Wisconsin's riding this high off the win over Marquette. And timing is everything typically, right? Oh, Wisconsin will ride the high. Michigan State's going to be angry. They're
Totally.
finally going to break through. Nope.
It was an easy one.
70 to 50, easy one.
Like to be an easy one.
70 to 57, Wisconsin wins. Here is the stat. This first came in from Jeff Borzello. Yes, I'm going to give him credit. He says.
Why are we giving him credit?
Michigan
couldn't even come to the game.
He wasn't
Where was
feeling
he?
well.
What's it? What do you little? What did he have?
It wasn't little. It was a big stomach bug that he had.
A big
So,
stomach
he
bug. He
ate
had a
some
belly
bad
ache. Borzello had a belly ache.
Yeah. The
Come on.
The Nutri-Grain didn't. It was a stale batch or something. I don't know. All right. Michigan State has now matched the worst 8-game start by an AP preseason top 5 team over the last 40 years. The worst AP top 5 preseason
but
start
part of that,
at 4
listen,
and 4.
Okay, part of that is, let's face it, most of these teams are playing bye games, a lot of bye games. Now, they lost one to James Madison to start the year, but
Right.
Tom Izzo does not play
They lost a bye
cupcakes.
game.
But I'm saying he's not loading. He's
I
not
know.
loading up on it.
I know,
So
but
he's got a tougher schedule than most. Most teams in the last 40 years are not playing league games in the first 8.
okay, I
Okay.
agree with all that you just
So-
said. That's a very fair point. Having said that, they only have one more non-conference high-caliber game left. That is against Baylor. It's in Detroit. It's part of that loaded Saturday, December the 16th, that features a whole bunch of matchups that we can talk about in a different time. Where's the panic meter with Michigan State on a scale of 1 to 10?
Like an 8.5.
It's
We're
high.
getting up there.
8.5.
We're getting up there.
What has gone so wrong for this team this early in the season, Rob?
They don't have anybody other than Tyson Walker that scares you at this point, right? Like, you can't just rely on having a 5'11" dude go out there and get you 35 every single night to be able to win. They're trying to play 2 bigs now with Mady Sissoko and Carson Cooper, and that's not going to work. Part of that is because
It's a
Malik
terrible
Hall
idea.
Part of that is because Malik Hall is sick, and he's not playing all that well. The freshmen aren't coming along. Where is Xavier Booker? Does anyone know where Xavier Booker is?
Where do you think he is? We knew this. I mean, Izzo
is he
said
still
it.
around? No. Look, I get it.
We
but what
knew he wasn't going to be an impact player
I know,
as a freshman.
but what I'm saying is that when you have a team that is
But
built
not an
around
APB
having
for Xavier Booker.
we need one. He didn't play tonight. He didn't play tonight,
but he hasn't played
I
at
know.
all for the most
What I'm
part.
saying is, like,
Can't
he's
count
just-
on him.
You can't
No.
count on
They
him.
don't have a 5-man. They do not have a 5-man, like a legit 5-man. Hogar was actually pretty good tonight, but generally you don't know what you're going to get out of Hogar. That's
Jaden
part of the
Akes
problem.
is still MIA.
He's the problem. Like, to me, that's the biggest issue. Is too much is on Tyson Walker. We all thought Jaden Akins would make a jump now that he's healthy. Last year he wasn't, and he just hasn't. And listen, when you look at Izzo and you bring back everything, you just assume Michigan State's going to be better. But maybe they're the same team from a year ago for the most part.
And they lost their best shooter, leading scorer.
Right,
I mean,
right, which was
it's-
huge.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to say that we overrated them because I don't think that we did. I think that when you have a team that is coached by the guy that they're coached by, that brings back an all-conference point guard in Tyson Walker, a guy that is going to be borderline all-conference that we could have projected in A.J. Hogard, a guy in Jaden Akins that everyone thought that this would finally be the year he broke out. You got a senior in Malik Hall. You got bigs that you can rotate through in theory, right? You got
to be a roster that you were like, okay. But here's what I will say. I might have said this to one of you guys, Champions Classic. I said, if Tyson Walker is your best player, then you're in a little bit. And I love Tyson Walker, just not as my star because he's little. And I need for a team that's going to like go deep, like and have a chance to win the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure Tyson Walker can be your best player. Well, certainly he needs more
They're
help.
just not getting enough
Certainly
help.
So
you need a 1B with him.
Yeah, well, so what? That's exactly what I was going to say. Is what's the difference between him and R.J. Davis?
Yeah, I'm not sure R.J. Davis is going to.
You know what it is? It's Armando Bacot.
He's a better supporting cast.
You know what it is? It's Harrison Ingram. Because I would make the argument that right now R.J. Davis is North Carolina's best player.
Yeah, he has been. Sure.
And you have
Ingram
an
might
anchor,
be right,
but you have an anchor in Armando. You know what you're going to get from Armando Bacot every single night. Yeah. You're going to get 16 and 11 from him. Yeah. He's going to be big. He's going to be physical. He's going to wear down the other team's opposing big. They're going to get him into foul trouble. Harrison Ingram has been terrific this season.
Tom Izzo has no idea what he's going to get out of Anybody not named Tyson Walker.
Well, we know what we're going to get out of their bigs this year, and that's the
what I'm
problem.
saying.
Which is a problem because
That's the problem.
and the bigger problem
He didn't
is
go to the portal.
Yeah, that's it.
He didn't.
You
go
can't
to the
count on
portal,
freshman
and
bigs.
Izzo, he's gonna fight it. He's gonna fight it. He's gonna fight. He's gonna be loyal to his guys. He's not gonna run dudes off. And ultimately, yeah, it probably cost them because if he got in the portal, I mean, you don't think, oh boy, the Suns owner, Ishbia, would have given him a little bit of coin to go get a guy out of the portal?
They got coin there.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Like trust me, he could have gotten dudes out of the portal. He decided not to. I would assume next year that'll change.
Hey,
portaling doesn't guarantee.
No, but Cam Spencer would have helped him.
Cam Spencer tonight would have helped the Chicago Bulls. Okay,
yeah, he would have, and so would Marcus Domask.
By the way,
hey, portal guys,
portal
guys,
Got
veteran guys.
to get the right ones, right? Kansas gets Timberlake.
Can we just talk about the fact that Cam Spencer is out here with like a 42-year-old father of three vibe with like the black shoes and the white socks, probably can't even dunk, out here just running his mouth getting texts with Armando Bacot.
He said that he got rid of the old shoes. I think they hurt his toes or something.
That's the most old man thing I've ever heard in my life. I had to get new shoes because they hurt my toes. That's what you would say.
Yeah,
probably have said it.
You had definitely have said it.
Yes.
Before we get to Big East, Big 12, one other Big 10 score tonight. Oh yes, in Ann Arbor.
Yes.
You should be celebrating.
My Hoosiers.
The Indiana Hoosiers are 7-1. They win at Michigan 78-75, and you seem surprised.
I'm freaking shocked.
Is this not Mike Woodson's best coaching job?
No. I mean, you beat a Maryland team that frankly has been awful, as disappointing as almost any team in the country.
Kevin Willard said that he went to church.
I hope he said a lot of Hail Marys too, something, because he's going to need more than just one day at church.
You can't believe they're 7-1.
But I can, because again, they beat Michigan. We all looked at Michigan going into the season and being like, all right, they're an NIT team at best, right?
We all did.
Yes, you did too. Going into the year, I'm saying not your second best team in the Big Ten. That happened after like 2 games.
Yeah.
Preseason.
That was after I started drinking again.
Yeah. Preseason.
You stopped?
Nobody thought they were more than an NIT team. So give Indiana credit. They've won these games without Xavier Johnson. They're 2-0 in the Big Ten. They barely beat like Army, Gulf Coast, every other team they played. I think it'll eventually catch up with them, because they just – Mike Woodson is a believer in like not shooting threes.
Well, I mean, that's my question about them, right? So how should you feel if you are an Indiana fan? On the one hand, I think when you watch that team play as it is right now, it's very hard to buy into the idea that they are playing a level of basketball at this very moment that is good enough to be able to make a run of the tournament, compete in the Big Ten. On the other hand, we're sitting here on it's probably December 6th by now. They are 7-1. Yeah. They're 2-0 in the Big Ten. They have a road win against Michigan. They have a win over Maryland. And I don't know, and they've won close games. Like, I know it's against bad teams. They've won close games. So I think the next 2 games they play, the next 2 Saturdays is what they got. Auburn in Atlanta for the holiday hoops giving down there. And then they get Kansas coming into Indianapolis next Saturday. We're going to find out everything we need to know about this Indiana.
The perimeter shooting in that game could be something
so
out of the.
There's going to be a lot of bricks. I might actually bring a brick to Bloomington. I might bring a brick and bring it in Assembly Hall.
Go to the Indy 500 track and pick up a brick.
I'm going to bring it in.
But
I'm going to walk in
with
carrying a huge brick into Bloomington.
I mean, that's some rough perimeter shooting.
Oh, it's going to be ugly.
And that's why, how could you feel good about
Bill
Indiana's?
Self would probably laugh if I did.
He would think that's funny.
I think so. I think maybe
if he wins, which he should.
I don't think Woodson would laugh at you.
No, I don't either.
You're susceptible, though. When you're not hitting perimeter shots from game to game, you're susceptible to lose to anyone. Because somebody can come out and do that to you.
Listen, this Indiana team looks nothing more than an NIT team right now. I get that they beat Maryland. I get that they beat Michigan. Those are good wins, but those are probably against 2 teams that aren't going to make the NCAA tournament at the end of the day. They're not what's going to get you in the NCAA tournament. Now, you need to avoid bad losses. That's what that's doing.
You know what's going to get them into the NCAA tournament?
Go ahead. Beating Auburn will help.
Yeah. You don't remember what happened in this building? not 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Right.
almost losing to Louisville.
Yeah, almost lost a little.
Right.
But did they lose to Louisville?
No, and
no,
that's the
they
thing.
beat Louisville.
Yes.
There you go. That's punching your ticket right there. That's a blue blood, right?
All right.
Where are you
And
going?
we're again way off the tracks. Way off the tracks. Let's get back on the track with a word from our partners at MGM.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM Sportsbook for this college basketball season. We're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks and predictions throughout the college basketball season. And we are going to have special offers for you, the listeners, and the viewers on the Field of 68 each and every week during the season. If you haven't signed up with BetMGM yet, use the bonus code FIELD1500 and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager on BetMGM Sportsbook. Here's what you got to do. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD1500. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if that bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code FIELD1500 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient for me when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly. When crossing state borders, just log into your existing account instead of having to create new accounts in each state that you go to. And most importantly, I got to let you know, we do have some fun stuff coming up for this college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boosts, my personal favorite, parlay odds boosts. So download the BetMGM app today.
This is the Field of 68 After Dark from the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. John Fanta, Jeff Goodman, Rob Dauster with you after the Jimmy V Classic, in which Illinois beat FAU. Then UConn, they beat North Carolina in a top 10 showdown, 87-76. Speaking of UConn, they were the one bright spot in the Big East tonight because the Big East had a rough night. The conference is now 3-7.
Is that why Val looked a little down, Ackerman, post-game?
Obviously, a tough night for the commissioner of the Big East and a tough time right now for the Big East because they're 3-7 in the Big East Big 12 battle. 3-7. One more to go tomorrow night against Texas. Marquette will host Texas. Interesting game. It's the game of the night tomorrow. Guys, here's the stat at the moment on a conference that we thought could be the best in college basketball. It is not, the Big 12. UConn, Creighton, Marquette, and Villanova are 12-5 versus KenPom top 75 teams this season. Again, UConn, Creighton, Marquette, and Villanova are 12-5 against KenPom top 75. The rest of the Big East, the other 7 teams against KenPom top 75 teams, a record of 5 wins to 17 losses. How concerned are you about the conference?
Outside of the top 3, I'm very concerned. I mean, look, you guys know how high I was on Providence coming in. That win over Wisconsin that they had at the start of the year is going to age very, very well. But I don't know how much else on the resume right now is aging well. Kansas State has not looked great. They took the loss to Kansas State. Their best win is over Georgia. Georgia has not necessarily looked great, although they had a nice win over Georgia Tech today. And then they went on the road, and they kind of got blitzed a little bit at Oklahoma. And, look, Oklahoma's good. They're a top 20 team for a reason. They're undefeated for a reason. I think that they have a chance to actually make a little bit of noise. That's probably a different conversation for a different day, but I'm worried about Providence. That was a team that was supposed to be top 6 in this league, right? Villanova. Oh, and they lost Justin Moore to a knee thing. We'll see how long he's going to end up being out, but they have not been good. I think they are 4-5 on the year, 4-4 on the year. That's a bad sign. Xavier, too young, too banged up. They lost at home to Delaware. It's
Nova 6-4.
Yeah, it's just it's
the Johnnies don't have anything. They have no meat in the bone, right?
No.
So that's the hard part. You thought you were going to go into league play with like 6 or 7 teams as resume wins. Now you're going in with like 3 or 4.
3. And those 3 are all teams that we want to talk about tier 1, tier A, whatever. Marquette, UConn, and Creighton are all going to be top 8 teams when things are all said and done.
Right.
So how many times are they going to lose to teams that aren't Marquette, Creighton, or UConn?
They're going to need to. Like Villanova's going to need
Yes.
to knock out. But again, you look at it and you're like, all right, DePaul stinks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stinks.
Stinks.
One of the worst teams in Georgetown stinks. They're not good.
No.
They're not good. I'm shocked. But they're not good in year one of Cooley. I thought they'd be better. Not great, but maybe an NIT team.
And the issue there is by February, they're going to pick off a team or two.
Right, right.
Because they almost picked off TCU.
Yeah, not that TCU show me anything. I mean,
they have
talk
not.
About the worst non-conference schedule to date
of
any team.
I think to your point,
Seton Hall's not very good.
No.
So you're talking about, and again, Xavier's not very good. They're not very good. They're not probably. I'd be surprised if they're a tournament team.
They're 4-5 right now.
They've lost to Oakland and Delaware.
That's what I'm saying. They're not going to be a tournament team. I mean, it's
And
Sean.
look, it is
and I don't.
But that's
Butler,
the problem. That's the problem is they're not a tournament team. Sean, and he's got a bunch of freshmen that are going to get better. Sure. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to end up beating someone like a Providence,
that's on the
like
bubble.
a Villanova that's on the bubble, and that's going to be something that weighs down their resume.
So could this be a 4-bid league?
Yeah. I think that
you think it's a 4-bid Big East.
I still think that you set the line at 5.5, and I still think that they got a chance. We haven't talked about Butler very much on the show.
Butler, I'm not sure if I buy in yet.
I'm leaning towards them being like top 50 good. I think that they're top 50 good. And
I mean,
if they're top 50 good, you got a chance to be able to win enough games to get to the tournament.
Here's the thing with Butler, okay? He's scheduled pretty smart.
Yes.
So if you take a look, and the net does this, you pointed this out yesterday, win accumulation is something that the net likes. Now, they beat Texas Tech in a thrilling game. You got to credit them for doing that. They took 2 of 3 down in Orlando. They beat Boise State and Penn State, but they didn't lose to those teams. Right. And they only lost to FAU by 5 points.
Yeah, we just don't know if Penn State, Boise State, or Texas Tech are any of those actual NCAA tournament teams.
Boise State will be close.
Right.
I'm not buying Texas Tech and Penn State.
That's what I'm saying.
Rhodes got some stuff.
Right. So like again, Butler, we'll see. They're a wait and see.
Do you think that Villanova will miss the NCAA tournament?
Yes.
Yeah, I just honestly, they don't have a point guard. They don't have a point guard.
They don't have a point guard, and they just lost Justin Moore.
So here's how I see it then, and tell me if I'm wrong. I think you've got the 3 teams at the top that are firmly at the top. Other leagues don't necessarily have a 3 that are that strong.
You got to fill out the field too, guys.
You got to fill out the field. Right. So then for me, that's why Providence still blew out Wisconsin. Right. Like they lost to Oklahoma on the road. They're going to make it.
As long as Providence doesn't have like an atrocious conference slate,
they'll make it.
Win over, they're going to have like a 20-point
Can Rick
win
Pitino finish in the top?
That's it.
4.
If you look at what they've done,
if he finished in the top 4, trust me, they're going to put him in.
Yeah, but if
Chris Smalling got in the first 4.
But if you look at what St. John's has actually done, like they lost, they don't have horrible. They've lost to two top 75 teams. Yeah. They beat Utah, who's actually going to end up being pretty good. They're like top 40 in most of the metrics right now, right? So it's not like we're sitting here and they've dropped a bunch of bye games.
No, in an 11-team league, your goal should be to get about 5 or 6 bids. I think there's a 3 that's very strong, and I think there'll be 2 teams that pick off 1 or 2 of those top teams, and they get in. They'll get 5 in.
Right.
And it comes down to probably St. John's, Butler, Providence, and I guess Villanova, because you never know if they could go on a run. It's those four. Two
There's
teams.
got to be separation, and again, there should be with DePaul, with Georgetown, with some of those teams. Seton Hall at the bottom.
But that's the funky thing with net, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but it does feel like St. John's. You just said it. I agree with everything. They beat Utah on a neutral. Utah's metrics are screwed up too. St. John's has Boston College, Fordham, and Hofstra left on their non-conference and Sacred Heart. But it's like it feels like the net likes 11-2.
Yeah, I think if you beat those teams bad enough,
early in the season it does, and then it'll kind of like we can't right now. We can't look at the net and really evaluate. It's just too early.
But I know that, but I could tell you right now, talking with people downstairs tonight, that like a Dan Gavitt and people around the sport say, this like UConn. What does UConn do? They either play great or they play absolute horrendous teams, and what do they win by?
100, 400, yeah. Right.
There's something to be said about that. You can't play the system.
Iowa State is the perfect example right now. I mean, they're like 11 or 12 in the net, and they really haven't beaten anybody, but they're beating the hell out of everybody they play. These low-level teams.
Tammy Lipsey had a triple-double the other day. Did you see that? He had 15, 10, and 10. Like, you know who it came against?
Who?
DePaul.
DePaul.
Well, you could score 10 and 10 against DePaul. All right,
hold on.
go ahead.
Before we do toast, Fanta, this is
big
where
game tomorrow night, Marquette and
big
Texas.
game. And this is where we have to talk about Vaulted. Vaulted is an app that allows you to participate in daily cash prize pools without an entry fee. It is the place you can store your own predictions forever. And by using the Vaulted Challenge feature, you can prove you're smarter than your friends, your enemies, and Jeff Goodman. Go download the Vaulted app and its free trial, VLTED, and challenge your friends, store your predictions, and join daily cash prize pools without an entry fee.
What's your prediction?
Here's my challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. What do you got?
Marquette's winning tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, they're winning that
Marquette's covering tomorrow.
I don't understand how Texas is ranked 12th. Can
I don't even
anybody
have them
explain that
ranked.
to me?
You don't have them ranked, right?
Hell no. They almost lost to Louisville. Who have they beaten?
They haven't really beaten anybody yet. But the reason they're ranked is because
they were ranked
haven't
in the preseason.
and they haven't really lost. Like
that's all it is.
Yeah, you're ranked in the preseason. You're just going to go up until you lose. Like it is what it is, man. That's how rankings go. I still think there's talent on that roster for Texas, but I'm just envisioning Max Smith stealing with like Stevie Mitchell and those guys.
Good luck.
Like, I love Max.
Yeah,
I
good
love
luck,
him at
man.
Oral Roberts, but like that's a tough match.
And Marquette's coming off a loss. They're coming off a loss to Wisconsin, in which Shaka Smart will have them ready to respond. And this is where Texas, to me, the key against Marquette is if you can get into Iguodaro and make Oso Iguodaro's life a nightmare. Because what happened? Kansas didn't, and what happened for Oso against Kansas? He beat him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Last game he struggled.
Are we ready for toast of the night?
Yeah, we can. Let's do it.
Now okay, so I'm watching Goodman's phone. Now,
You
I
know
was
where I'm
seated.
going with this.
Yes, I was seated next to Matthew Norlander tonight in a tough spot. Honestly, it was better to be elevated in press row. We were down and
couldn't see anything because
couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
In the midst of things, we are following some certain tweets from you that had some score updates.
Yeah.
And it wasn't women's basketball.
Did Norlander like those?
We
tweets?
both loved it.
Okay.
So what happened tonight? Who are you toasting?
So I'm going to toast tonight to the Mississippi University for Women.
Not a women's team.
Not a women's team, a men's team, but the Mississippi University for Women went out and they played McNeese State. And they didn't play McNeese State with Will Wade because he's still serving, the final game of his suspension. I think this is 10.
Tough for him to sit through that
and they
tonight.
almost covered. They didn't win, but they didn't go out there to win.
Wait a minute. There was a line for this
They almost
game?
covered. They
What was
lost
the line?
92-23. The line was 69.
Nice.
69, Fanta. That was the line.
I'm not getting in trouble. So wait a minute. They won by 69?
Yeah, it was a push.
It's a push. It's a push.
You got to be
They
kidding
didn't cover.
me.
They didn't cover.
The Mississippi University for women pushed.
Yeah. Do you want any scouting report on the Mississippi?
No, we don't. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on for this.
Go ahead with the toast. Go ahead with the toast of the night.
is the
Not
Grand
presented by
score.
Chipotle.
Canyon Antelopes.
The leading scorer was Tariq Islamovich.
Credit to
Do you know
him.
how many points?
All right.
Do you
So
know how many points he had?
go.
5 points.
Congratulations.
5
Good job.
Good job.
I'm going with Grand Canyon. I'm going with
I was
Bryce
going to
Drew.
go Bryce Drew.
Ray Harrison at 23 tonight. Colin Moore had 15. Your boy Tyon Grant Foster had 18, 5 and 5. And I will say this about Grand Canyon. Everyone loves to throw out these whole like mid-major. Who's going to be the next team to make a Final Four? Who is this year's Charleston? Who is this year's FAU? I think Grand Canyon is this year's like
They got players.
the
They
team
got
that can make a
dudes.
threat. Tyon Grant Foster is a guy that is probably going to get an NBA paycheck at some point in his life.
Do you think Grand Canyon's 7-1? Vanderbilt is 4-4. Do you think right now
No comment. I'm going to change the subject on this one
Vanderbilt
right now.
fans would rather have Bryce Drew back or Jerry Stackhouse right now?
So Fanta, I do think that it's
I
also.
think they'd rather have Bryce Drew.
I think it's also very interesting. You see how I just dodged that. It's also very
You're not
interesting.
going to answer it.
I
You're
think it's
really
very,
not going to answer
I
that
think it's
question.
very interesting. A lot of people are worried about this San Diego State team. Not worried about them. They lost by 6 on the road to a talented Grand Canyon team who is very good, and they lost by 9 on the road to a BYU team who you want to talk about metrics.
Wow.
The absolute metrics, darling.
Wow.
You talk to Mark Pope.
Great, by the way.
Pope's great.
How about the Patino story?
That was great. That was terrific.
He would give his life for the man, but he didn't know who he was more mad at the end of a practice, himself or Patino. Who am I going to toast? I'm going to toast two things. Number one, I'm going to toast Mitch Henderson's Princeton Tigers, who should be ranked because
did they play tonight?
Yes,
Yeah, 9-0.
they beat Drexel.
They covered.
They covered.
8.5. Who said a line? Princeton 8.5 against Drexel. That was a layup.
Xavier Lee.
Free money.
Xavier Lee he's gone from a guy who scored like 3-4 points per game on a Sweet 16 team that had Tosan Awoma. Yeah. He's averaging about 17, 18 per game. Tonight, he led them in scoring. They're 9-0. 6 of their wins have come away from Jabwin Gym. They're 9-0 for the first time since 1919. Wow. That's pre-Kirill.
That's unbelievable.
So Mitch Henderson,
barely.
I'm telling you right now, Mitch Henderson is going to deserve a better job. And it's nothing against Princeton. I just think if you're a power conference school, you could do a lot worse.
Vanderbilt.
Stanford.
I mean, it's going to be a job in that kind of wheelhouse of academics, academia.
Look at you sounding smart.
This is when you start throwing out big words, we know it's time for Jeff Goodman.
I gotta go to bed.
And I'm gonna toast the state of South Carolina. I'm gonna toast Clemson, South Carolina, 7-0 versus 7-0. David Bentley and Terrence Oglesby are fired up for Clemson and South Carolina. That's tomorrow night.
You should have heard
7-0 versus 7-0.
You should have heard T.O. yesterday on our podcast. Like he
was fired up.
T.O. wakes up fired up. All right. T.O. always brings the juice. And once he started talking about Clemson, it was one of those things where it was like, oh boy.
They could be the best team in the ACC.
That's not crazy. That's not bananas right
now.
No,
it's not.
Like, that's not that hot a take. Think about that.
They could be. BJ Hall could be the ACC Player of the Year.
If they win the ACC, we are never going to hear the end of it from Terrence Oglesby.
Oh, no.
Ever.
And you have to give credit to Coach Paris and Michi Johnson because it appears the Gamecocks are heading in the right direction.
Well, you just got to win games. If you're South Carolina, just win games. Build a schedule that allows you to get some momentum, win some games, because ultimately you got to have a pretty good record, even if you don't make the tournament, even if they look at you at the end of the year, you win 20 games, and they look, the committee, and they're like, no, you didn't play enough people. That's fine. But you need momentum. You need to win some games.
Were you excited to see me tonight after being in Boca all weekend?
Yeah, I mean, my God, am I tired of him.
Now, Gottlieb
ripped
your outfit in the Walk and Talk feature. Gottlieb goes, what is he wearing?
Yeah. Yeah, you had the gray T-shirt on with the turkey neck. It was all stretched out. You were showing off a lot of your traps. You had on the open-toed slides with basketball shorts on.
They were comfortable.
Yeah, you were very comfortable. You were very comfortable.
We want to thank everybody at Madison Square Garden for hosting us tonight. I'm not sure what is going on in the section.
They're running you out.
Next, it's my time to go back to Boonton, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
I'm heading to bed. You're heading to Patino's.
Yeah, that's right. I think he'd let me in now. A year later,
he absolutely would.
Honestly, he might leave the door unlocked for me.
Before we leave, I'm going to blow 30 seconds. I'm going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, St. John's is playing Sacred Heart. Rick Pitino's coaching St. John's. Jay Wright is calling the game.
Wow, come on! Why is Jay Wright calling that game?
I don't make the assignments.
What the hell is going on?
That's going to do it for us tonight. For Rob Dauster, for Jeff Goodman, for our producer Dagan Hughes. Dagan. Thanks for don't let the bed bugs bite, Dagan. We know the Pirates lost tonight. Dagan's not going to bed after this. I'm not sure what he's doing, but he's not going to bed.
Ooh.
I'm John Fanta. So long from New York City, everybody. We're back with you tomorrow, 9/11, to recap Marquette, Texas, and more. This has been After Dark.